Imagine, just for a second, having a coworker who could sit down, read a 1,500-page technical manual, rewrite your entire software architecture, and then design a fully functional web dashboard for your team to use, all literally in the time it takes you to go pour a cup of coffee. Crazy, right? Well, we aren't actually talking about science fiction anymore. Today, we're exploring how Anthropic's Claude AI is evolving from what we used to think of as just a simple chatbot into a truly autonomous, agentic digital colleague.
Okay, let's just kick things off with a number that really sets the stage here: 1 million. That is the exact amount of tokens Claude can hold in its working memory, what we call its context window, at one single time. Now, to put that into a relatable perspective, 1 million tokens is roughly 750,000 words. So you could literally hand Claude a massive 1,500-page book or an incredibly dense 250,000-line codebase, and it can remember and reason across that entire mountain of data all at once. This massive scale, it's the key that unlocks everything else we're about to look at today. Moving into Section 1, the core technical engine. Let's take a quick look at what exactly makes Claude so fundamentally different from other generalized chat interfaces out there.
The real secret sauce here is something called constitutional AI. Anthropic designed Claude with a literal constitution. Basically, it's a set of built-in principles drawn from foundational documents like the UN Declaration of Human Rights. So instead of relying exclusively on really expensive human evaluators to constantly play whack-a-mole and correct bad behavior, the model uses these core principles to guide itself. It's self-correcting. And the absolute crucial point here is that this alignment approach makes Claude consistently rate among the safest models available anywhere. For highly regulated spaces, think healthcare or finance, that kind of predictable safety isn't just a nice-to-have, it's an absolute requirement.
All right, Section 2, software development and engineering. Now, obviously, AI coding isn't exactly new, but tools like Claude Code and Claude Cowork are fundamentally shifting developers away from just accepting basic autocomplete suggestions and moving them towards actually delegating entire software builds.
The difference in how they approach this is actually really stark. A lot of popular tools out there rely on what's called retrieval, basically searching for and pulling up relevant little snippets of context on demand, which, is great for quick inline edits. But Claude Code, it uses a single window approach. Because of that massive 1 million token memory we talked about, developers can ingest an entire mid-sized codebase all at once. This means you can do coordinated repo-scale refactoring across dozens of files, and it maintains perfect architectural consistency because it literally sees the whole system at once.
And the results we're seeing from this are just staggering. We are talking about tracing incredibly elusive bugs across complex module boundaries, or navigating the absolute dark arts of legacy code archaeology. Get this. In one incredible experiment, a team of Claude agents wrote a functional C compiler from scratch in Rust, and it was capable of compiling the Linux kernel. Oh, and it's even assisted NASA engineers in planning routes for the Perseverance Mars rover. Literally out of this world. Productivity here isn't about typing faster anymore. It's about handing off the heavy cognitive lifting entirely.
Let's transition over to Section 3, Enterprise and Professional Analysis. We're stepping out of the engineering lab and into the corporate boardroom, because navigating complex, high-volume professional documentation is where a massive context window stops being just a cool technical spec and starts becoming a core business asset.
Take law, for example. This builds a completely new workflow. Before, an AI might only be able to handle reading a few pages at a time before completely losing the thread of the document. Now, a legal team can upload a whole 200-page merger agreement, complete with all its dense exhibits and regulatory frameworks. It completely spares some poor junior associate from having to read it all weekend. Claude processes the whole thing simultaneously, doing this meticulous clause-by-clause analysis and flagging compliance risks, all without ever losing the overall context of the agreement.
We're seeing this applied heavily in finance, too. Major banks, as well as massive global entities like Norway's Sovereign Wealth Fund, are utilizing Claude right now to screen these incredibly complex portfolios for ESG risks. It can identify really subtle indicators of things like forced labor or corruption that are buried deep in corporate reporting. And because Claude is just so reliable at following complex multi-part instructions, companies are deploying it to handle highly technical customer support inquiries that require strict, zero-deviation adherence to internal rules.
Okay, on to Section 4, Research, Science, and Education. It isn't just about corporate risk and compliance, right? Let's shift gears to where synthesizing global knowledge is the absolute primary objective.
Anthropic actually went ahead and developed a specialized model, literally called Claude Science.
It's designed explicitly to help researchers working in cellular and molecular biology as well as drug development. Again, because of that massive context window, a researcher can upload dozens of incredibly dense scientific papers simultaneously. The AI synthesizes all that literature, generates brand new hypotheses, and drafts comprehensive reviews. And over in education, students are using Claude as a personalized tutor to break down insanely complex topics like general relativity, and the AI scales the explanation to match their exact current level of understanding.
Section 5. Interactive Prototyping and Design. So far, we've seen coding, deep analysis, and research. But what about creative output and visual design? Let's dive into how Claude bridges the gap from a simple text prompt to a fully functional product.
When you ask Claude to build something visual or code-based, it utilizes this awesome feature called artifacts. Basically, it generates a standalone, interactive window right alongside your chat. You can feed it raw CSV data and just watch it instantly render live dashboards, heat maps, or really complex Sankey diagrams. You can generate functional React apps, fully playable mini-games, or downloadable PowerPoint presentations, and they all run right there directly in a browser sandbox environment. You literally see the product come to life instantly.
And Claude Design takes this collaborative prototyping even further. Using just natural language, teams can generate landing pages and marketing materials that automatically pull directly from their own established brand guidelines and code bases. You can visually iterate on the design using sliders, drop in inline comments, the whole shebang. Then, once the prototype is looking absolutely perfect, there is a direct handoff path right back to Claude Code to actually build and deploy the final software. It seamlessly connects the entire creative pipeline.
Moving to Section 6, Specialized High-Stakes Applications. As you can imagine, deploying autonomous AI in critical environments like cybersecurity and national defense introduces immense power, but it also brings intense scrutiny.
271. That is the exact number of security vulnerabilities Mozilla announced they found and successfully patched in the Firefox browser using a highly restricted, specialized model called Claude Mythos Preview. Anthropic actually developed the Mythos and Fable series specifically to hunt down complex software vulnerabilities, providing it to consortiums of major tech companies to help secure our global digital infrastructure. However, it is absolutely essential to impartially look at the pushback here. Independent security researchers were quick to point out that these headline-grabbing numbers do require some context. They noted that the bugs were found in an environment specifically designed to mimic the application but with reduced security. And they pointed out that almost every successful exploit relied on just two highly exploitable, now patched bugs. So it's a vital reminder that while the capabilities are very real, these testing environments are for sure heavily controlled. This brings us right to the public sector and defense. The state of California currently uses Claude to streamline agency efficiency, while the U.S. military utilizes a version called Claude Gov for intelligence and operational planning. But this relationship is undeniably complex. The NSA and Department of Defense have used these models to find software vulnerabilities, but this occurred amidst a rather significant dispute. Anthropic refused to allow their models to be used for mass domestic surveillance or fully autonomous weapons. In response, the DoD designated them a supply chain risk, a move that was subsequently blocked by a federal judge's temporary injunction. It is a really stark illustration of the ongoing high-stakes negotiation between frontier AI companies and defense agencies over how this technology can and should be used. We've gone from a simple chat interface to an Agentic coworker that patches zero-day vulnerabilities, refactors whole code bases, and remembers literally every detail of a 200-page legal contract. Through features like Claude Projects and the Dreaming Memory Consolidation feature, these agents are gaining persistent memory across sessions. So when your AI can hold your entire company's history, your brand guidelines, and your source code in its active memory, what exactly limits what it can build? It's a pretty fascinating question to leave you with today. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.